So tell me about the 1.3 million in 30 days. How did that come about? What did it look like?
So I kind of sat down, I started thinking about the launch model, and I was like,
what is going on, guys? Paul James here. Welcome back to another video today. Today, I'm gonna share with you how Daven Michaels made $1.3 million in just 30 days. This is absolutely insane, so I had to bring this to you guys. If you're excited to hear about this and you have aspirations to maybe become a millionaire one day, go ahead and smash that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Again, I'm Paul James. I'm so glad you're here. Do me a favor, drop below this video, hit the subscribe button, and after you subscribe, comment below saying I've subscribed, and I'll do my best to reply back to you. I just love all of my brand new YouTube subscribers. I'm so happy you're here, and I cannot wait to share this interview with you today. All right, so Daven Michaels, an insane guy. He's a New York Times bestselling author. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's go and hop into the interview and break down how he made $1.3 million in just 30 days.
If you ain't beefing about the money, then what's the problem? What is up, everybody? Paul James here, and today we've got a very special guest on. His name is Daven Michaels. He's a great friend of mine, a mentor of mine, helped me out with a ton of advice and a ton of different stuff. So I'm really excited that we could get him on here. He's been very busy, kind of living the jet set lifestyle, traveling back and forth. And he's a New York Times bestselling author, which I think is incredibly cool. You know, how many people do you know who are New York Times bestselling authors? So if you have a chance to be mentored by someone like that, you know, what an awesome opportunity. So you guys are right here today, you know, getting a chance to experience that. So first off, that is awesome. But yeah, Daven has done some incredible things, but we're going to focus on today specifically how he was able to generate 1.3 million, I think it is, in 30 days. Is that correct?
1.3 million in 30 days. That's right. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. So before we get into that, why don't you just give us kind of a quick background on, you know, how you started in entrepreneurship in business? Like what got you into this whole thing?
Sure. So, and Paul, thanks for having me. And it's been a blast working with you. We've done some great things together.
My pleasure.
I started my business when I was 15, and I had no idea what I was doing, really. And I was in the clothing business. I was designing clothing for music groups. And this was in the early 80s. And the bands I was working with had nothing going on. But a funny thing happened just after we opened for business. MTV came on the air, changed the face of music, changed our lives. And we were working with these bands that had nothing going on. You know, most were playing their garage. Some might be playing real small venues, a couple hundred people. Within about 90 days, most of our bands had record deals. Within a year, they were selling millions of albums. And
were they like rock bands or pop bands?
No, these were new wave bands. Duran Duran, Cyndi Lauper, Prince, Madonna, Thompson Twins, and it was wild. I mean, you know, we would like it. Bands. Yeah. And it was like, at first it was small, and then a couple thousand. And then overnight we were in stadiums, you know, and it was great. And that really, you know, launched my business. It wasn't certainly the biggest business I had, but it was great. And what happened when I was 15, I graduated high school at 16. I started going to college when I was 17. And back then, you know, today all colleges have entrepreneurship programs, lots of them. Back then there were none. And so there was this 1-year college immersion course that was taught at my local JC by these guys who were like maverick entrepreneurs. They made millions and millions of dollars in the 50s and 60s. They were retired and they wanted to give back. And so they did this 1-year immersion on entrepreneurship. And, you know, I was just this kid. I was like 16. They took me under their wing, and most of what I learned was on the job. And that's, I just feel like in life you learn from doing, right? But they taught me that it was possible. You know, they showed me that it was possible. And then within a year, my business took off. I never went back. But since then, I was in primarily entertainment communications businesses. I had a telecommunications company. 5 years later, we sold it to a public company. I took back stock in that company. That stock got bought out, and that changed my life. I produced music and television for 15 years. I was the biggest electronic music event producer in the U.S.
Does that have to do with those records on the back wall?
Yeah, that does. Exactly. Nice. I had a good run. It was very cool. I was producing electronic music, but I always wanted to do hip hop and pop. And then I strategically started a record label with a friend of mine, Layla Steinberg. She discovered Tupac, and that plummeted me into the hip hop world. produced a lot of big hip hop records and pop records, and it was a great run. And I would still be in that business today had Napster not come out.
Oh, wow.
When Napster came out, like we thought the music business was over, and it turned out that it wasn't over, but it's nothing like it was back then.
No, totally shifted. More about merchandise and concert sales.
And concert sales, exactly. So at that point, I pivoted. I was like, what am I going to do? And the next step for me, what made sense was producing television. And I started producing reality television. And I didn't really have any big hits in TV because I was only there about 3 years. And then my outsourcing business took off. And we've been doing that for almost a decade, 9 years now.
Nice. So how did you make the shift from that into running more like an outsourcing or virtual type business?
Yeah, I think most of my businesses, most of them have been kind of around entertainment, and I'm an entertainer. I like to entertain, and I was a recording artist for a little bit too, and so I kind of brought, I guess, that flair to the business. And so what happened is very early on when we started the company, we were in outsourcing for small businesses, and almost a decade ago, small businesses knew nothing about outsourcing. They didn't even know that they could get it. They didn't know that they could use it. And
so are we talking more than like temp services when you talk about?
Okay. We have always been a managed facility. So you hire dedicated agents. Yeah. And so our people become experts in your business. You have like it's like having a virtual employee, right?
Nice.
And so we realized early on that if we wanted to have a market, we'd have to create that market because it didn't exist yet. And so we decided to adopt an educational model. And so I started writing books, as you said, became a New York Times bestseller. We started creating info products. We started doing events all over the globe. I started speaking on stages, and we educated our audience, and many of them became clients of ours and still are today. And today we have about 550 employees at our 3 centers. Wow. And but also I speak on stages all over the globe, and we do our own events, and that allows me to get that entertainment out of me. Yeah. And so, we don't just educate, we edutain. Mm-hmm. And it's a labor of love because I love doing it. I always have. So it's cool because, when you're self-employed, you bring your personality to your business. I know you have big time.
You know? For sure. Definitely.
Especially with your new book, right? So exactly. So, yeah.
Awesome. So tell me about the 1.3 million in 30 days. How did that come about? What did it look like? Just give us a little bit of insight in on that, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. So 123 employees, obviously a multi-million-dollar company. We're a big company today, so many employees, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing that always eluded me was a launch. I had a lot of friends in the marketing space that did big launches. And the only launch I had done up until last year was the book launch for my book that became a New York Times bestseller. And our goal with that was really making it to the list, to sell a ton of books. It wasn't necessarily to make money on it. It was more to make money on the end game, right?
Right.
And so we were successful with that, but I wanted to have a big launch, a lot of money come in at once, to do some cool stuff. Maybe it was ego, but it was also, financial too. And so we sat down, we started thinking about, I'm not a huge fan of launches, as you know. But what we are really good at is webinars. So I kind of sat down, I started thinking about the launch model, and I was like, if ultimately most people run kind of a PLF style launch, product launch formula. So that normally is a series of videos that are kind of indoctrination videos, but they ultimately lead to a webinar. And that webinar is, kind of your end game. So I could think about that. I was like, well, if that's where we're trying to go, and if people have a shorter attention span than they ever have, why don't we just turn that upside down? Why don't we just take them straight to the webinar? And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. For us to do that, though, we'd have to do hundreds of webinars in a month, and that's not possible. I don't have that kind of time. I'd want to kill myself, right? And but then I started thinking, could we create technology, and could we get the leverage of our virtual employees to do this? Was it possible? And so I always work with the outcome. I always start with the outcome and work backwards, right? So the outcome was
very smart.
We do a couple hundred webinars, and if so, how would we do it? And so we created a whole automated process to do that. And then we put our assistants in place, and we made it happen. And so what we did is we created technology to kind of make the whole process happen. We probably don't have enough time to kind of cover that all here today. Sorry about that. I got to Skype.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So we didn't have enough time to cover that today, but we needless to say, we put in a process that sort of automated the whole thing. And then we used our virtual team to back it all up. So for example, we had on average, 8 to 10 webinars running simultaneously during this 30-day period. So in doing that, we had 10 of our people in the chats, answering chats. And then those same 10 people were answering questions on the sales page, because we had chats in the sales page as well. And then anytime you're doing any type of internet sales, you have a lot of people that have incomplete orders. So, maybe their credit card doesn't go through, or they just drop off in the process, right? That happens a lot. So then we created routines and sent those over to our team as well. And so they were following up on credit cards and stuff.
Nice. So you're talking about actual people that would call up on the phone or just via email?
On the phone, phone. Yeah. Nice. And then they follow up via email and text if they weren't able to get a hold of them on the phone. Awesome. Yep. And then what we would do is, when you do a webinar, the vast majority are non-buyers, right? Because, only a percentage buys. So we would then, our team would call out to those people and say, hey, notice that you didn't take advantage of the program. Why was that? And then really people would say, well, I didn't like that you didn't have a payment plan. And then we're like, well, we do have a payment plan, and so.
So it's just a miscommunication that they didn't get on the webinar.
Okay. Exactly. Or, the big mistake, or one of the biggest mistakes marketers make, and this is huge if you kind of wrap your brain around this, is that we think that our people, our tribe, are taking in the data that we're giving them, whatever that message is, in sequence. Okay. Yeah. Because they're not. Like, for example, if you write an email series to them, explaining the 10 steps of, how to write great copy. And then at the end, maybe your goal is, do you want to sell a program on great copy, right? Well, if you write the steps so that if you're on step 5, you need 4, 3, 2, and 1, you need that knowledge to understand 5, you're screwed, because people don't read them all. That's a huge mistake. So even on a webinar, if you are not conscious of the fact that people are in and out, people are checking their texts, people are checking their emails, they're probably 30% engaged if you're lucky, so they're going to miss stuff. Like, even though you told them 4 times, we have a payment plan here, they're just going to miss it. Yeah. So then we get on the phone, that's a personal touch. Then the next step is our buyers, right? And, if so many entrepreneurs, so many business people, they're always chasing after their next client. And at 123 Employee, we're really focused on our current client, right? Because your best client's your current client. If you do right by them, they know, like, and trust you, then they'll continue to buy stuff from you.
Yeah, they're going to keep buying.
Exactly. But everybody's always looking for the new customers. So the next thing is our buyers. And so our team would reach out and really work with our buyers to make sure that they had great success, right? Or make sure they understand the program, actually, and get them indoctrinated. Then the last phase is that all of our programs come with human capital, because that's what we're in the business of selling, is human capital. So we will then, give them a virtual assistant to actually help them with the implementation. So as you can see, we just have so many leverage points that we use our virtual team to, bridge.
Let me go back to the follow-up part, because I'm curious to know, what do you think of the percentage of sales came from the follow-up versus, what came on the actual webinar?
Yeah. And I don't have the exact stat on it, but I'm sure that, 30% easily. Wow. And I know, Paul, a lot of your people are e-com people, right? A lot of the people.
There's a lot of e-com people, and there's a lot of local marketers who have consulting services, and they're going to local business owners. And I think that this is really encouraging to them, because I know that probably 90% of my people who follow me are making one single contact, one single phone call, one single email, and that's it. And they're done.
Yeah. So let's address that for sure. So we have a ton of local business agencies that use us, and they use us in a lot of different ways. The biggest way is they have us on the back end doing all the busy work. So, posting all the YouTube videos, posting in all the social media, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And creating content and microblogging and blogging and vlogging and all of that stuff. And so we do so much of that because a lot of these agencies start off as kind of one-man shows or one-woman shows, right?
Right.
So what happens is, after they have a few clients under their belt, they hit the wall, right?
Yeah.
And So yeah, so if they have a virtual team in back of them doing all the busy work, then they can just go out and they're just selling all the time, right?
Because they can be educating the person on why they need to have their search engine rankings increased, or why a bad reputation is something they don't want to have. So
exactly. I mean, that is all the highest and best use of their time, and everything that's not the highest and best use of their time should be outsourced or delegated to somebody else. So that's number one. Some other ways they use our team as well. One is scheduling and appointment setting. That's huge. So, let's say, I know that a lot of really successful local business agency owners really make it a point to kind of prospect in their local area, so they can literally set up appointments, go in, shake hands, and that's a huge selling point. And so your virtual assistant can pull out the map, look at who's in the area, and then reach out to all those local businesses. And some of the ways they do it is one is we use software, but some other ways is obviously reaching out, making a cold call. Another, it's a big one with a lot of local businesses, is we use the contact us page on their website, because we know if the business isn't too big, quite often the owner is the person, right? And so they do a lot of that. We also use software to pull up email addresses, so we can,
nice.
Find the owners via email address, and then we jump on social media and we find their site and reach out to them that way as well. And then the virtual assistant kind of makes that connection however it may be, and then they throw it on the agency owner's Google Calendar, and then they reach out and close those deals or take it.
That's really awesome. So it allows the agency owner to basically focus on the stuff when it comes to closing the sale, and then the virtual assistants focus on, they're basically appointment setters who are going out there and they're getting the appointments, they're getting the people who are interested or making them interested, and then from there the agency owner just has to basically seal the deal and say, here I am, let's do this type of thing.
Exactly. I mean, I think the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make in their business is they get too caught up doing everything that is not the highest and best use of their time. And I get it, because today there is, in theory, you could do everything in your business, right? You could handle the marketing, and you could do the social media, and you could do the distribution. You could do anything in your business, because technology makes that possible. But as a result, business owners end up getting caught up doing all that stuff instead of outsourcing and delegating stuff that is inexpensive and easy to outsource. And that's why they never scale their business. And the key is scaling your business. Right. And you can't do it if you're doing everything in your business.
Awesome. So to sum it up, 1.3 million in 30 days, not have been possible with you by yourself. It's because you have a massive team behind you that is systemized, trained to run everything like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. It was team, and it was process and implementation. Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely. So I know we don't have enough time here to kind of get into that whole tutorial on how we would implement it, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but do you think that you might be willing to hop on a webinar with my people sometime and kind of break this stuff down and teach them a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So we could jump on a webinar, and what I'll do, I believe that the lifeblood of all business is lead gen. If you have that dialed in, if you have the marketing dialed in your business, if you have a ton of leads coming through the door, if your bank accounts are overflowing with money, I believe that you can probably buy yourself out of just about any challenge you face in your business. If I gave you an unlimited checkbook, you're like, oh, I've got a problem with this. Okay, great. That guy could help. Right? And so let's jump on a webinar. I'll share a ton of different lead gen strategies. We'll specifically focus on local business as well. And then once we wrap that up, I'll show you how to outsource and delegate it also, that you can focus on scaling your business and doing the things that juice you and excite you.
That would be awesome, man. So we'll set that up. I'll leave a link below for everyone in the description. I'll try to put a card up somewhere as well. And we'll set up a date and time to do that. So thanks again, man. I really, really appreciate it. You've shared so much, and I'm looking forward to the webinar.
Awesome. See you on the webinar, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. So there you have it. Insane, right? I mean, absolutely incredible. This stuff is super motivating to me. I hope it's motivating to you. I convinced Daven to put together a masterclass for you guys. So together, Daven and I are going to be breaking down how he scaled this, and he's going to share some of his tips and strategies in more detail. We obviously didn't have time to cover all of that today. So I'm going to put a card somewhere in the corner of one of the video here. I'm also going to put a link in the description where you can sign up for that free workshop and you can come check it out, and we'll kind of dig deeper into Daven's strategy to really reverse engineer everything he's doing. Alright guys, so again, I'm Paul James. Thank you so much. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Peace out.